Hey parents, we had an awesome day yesterday in student life, both in middle school and in high school. And so I want to share with you a little bit about what we talked about in both of those groups. But first, I want to tell you a little more about why we do this, why we send these videos out. And really, it's pretty simple. Our heart behind this is to come alongside of you as parents, as you disciple your kids towards Jesus. We know that we are not the main spiritual influences in your child's life. It's not me, it's not our small group leaders, that is you. And so our goal in creating these videos and doing what we do is simply to support you as you seek to disciple your students so that they're following Jesus long after they graduate high school. So yesterday in middle school, we continued this series, Why Am I Here? And what we're asking in that question is not, why am I here on earth? It's not some kind of big existential question. No, we're asking, why am I here in this room? Why am I here at church? Why do I show up here on a Sunday morning or for a big night on Wednesday night? Why does any of this matter? Why do I give this my time and my energy? And so last week we saw that we're here because following Jesus matters. Yesterday we talked about how we're here because we can't do this alone. We can't follow Jesus alone because he never intended for us to do it that way. And so we looked at this passage in 1 Corinthians chapter 12 where Paul is using the example of the body. He's comparing it to the church and he's saying the body, though it has many parts, it works together. In the church, it's the same way. We all have a role to play. We are all a part of this body that is the church. And so what we wanted students to understand in this is that you have a role to play. And that role is not just about like keeping this operation that is church going, keeping the doors open on Sunday, or making New Life an awesome place to be, all great things. But you have a role to play in helping those around you follow Jesus more closely. We want these students to know that they have something that their friends need. And so we began just to encourage students to think about that, to think about what it is that God has gifted them in. We also named the fact that many of them may not know what they're good at yet, and that's okay. That's kind of part of this middle school phase, is figuring out what they're good at. And so let me encourage you this week and beyond to just help your students begin to dig that up, and for them to begin to think about, what are they good at? What are the things that God has gifted them in? And how can they use that to love and serve others and to point others towards Jesus? Yesterday in high school, we continued our Alpha series. And Alpha is really kind of an apologetic series, or a series based around asking these hard questions about life and faith. And so the question we were looking at yesterday is, who is Jesus? And so we talked about kind of the historical facts about who Jesus was and what he did. But we also thought a lot about who other people think that Jesus are. We talked about how do the people around you that aren't followers of Jesus, how do they think about him and who do they think that he is? We talked about how he can be divisive. People tend to either love Jesus or hate Jesus. Yes, there's some people in the middle, but what we see is that Jesus, he causes either this love or this just fierce hatred. And so why is it that way? And we talked about all of that, but what we really saw yesterday is that if Jesus is who he says he was, and there is immense proof that he is, then that is worth everything. That he is worth following because he gives us answers to the questions in life that other things just can't. Jesus helps us make sense of life. He gives us meaning and purpose in life. So let me encourage you this week to continue that conversation with your students. Who is Jesus? How do the people around you think about Jesus and why? And again, our goal in this series is really for students just to begin to think more deeply and more widely, both about how they think about these core issues of our faith, but also how the people around them are thinking about these things, so that we can maybe better understand where they're coming from and hopefully love them towards Jesus. Hey, that is it for today. We hope you have a fantastic week.